Welcome to Hannity. We are back, yes, with an incredible live audience. Whoa. Revved up, ready to go. And coming up, the House Judiciary Committee just announced that they're going to hold a hearing in New York City. These are the only normal people in the city. By the way, next week, to hear directly from victims of Alvin Bragg and his weak on crime policies. Finally, this state will hear from the victims. Their voices will be heard. Now, Jim Jordan will join us in a minute. We'll go over all the details as Republicans now fight back against the Democrats' witch hunts. Later, the Great One. Any Great One fans here? Mark Levin is here to weigh in on how Biden's weakness is making the world a more dangerous place. And China, Russia, Iran, guess what? They're filling that void, guaranteeing a less safe America and a less safe world. But first, let me start by telling you briefly, let me tell you what the left-wing media, the Democrats, they want you to talk about today. They have an agenda. Before we get into the real monologue, they really should be covering that they're not going to cover. The left is crying racism over the expulsion of 2 Tennessee lawmakers last week after they led a group of protesters through the state capitol with bullhorns. Let me be clear. At this point, it's a non-story. When they became state legislators, they agreed to the rules of that House, which clearly state, quote, members shall not enter any meeting of the House, its committees, its subcommittees, joint conventions, or joint committees with props or personal displays of any kind that may be used as a visual aid for the advocacy of or in opposition to any legislation or political message whatsoever. In other words, you cannot lead a group of protesters through the state capitol with a bullhorn the way these particular people did. Now, they may have entered the capitol legally, but their actions on the floor clearly created a volatile, potentially dangerous situation for every lawmaker and also law enforcement. Also, the Tennessee State Constitution. It gives each legislature the authority to, quote, determine the rules of its proceedings, punish members for disorderly behavior. With the concurrence of 2/3, they can expel a member. That's what happened. And tonight, the Nashville Governing Council has already voted to reinstate one of the expelled legislators. That's part of the law also. But when the media mob isn't crying racism, they're obsessing over their other favorite topic, and that is they want abortion to be front and center, even though every state now will get to make that decision on their own if you believe in federalism. A Texas judge ruled to suspend the FDA's approval of an abortion pill. But again, this too is a non-story. The ruling included an immediate 7-day stay. It won't affect most states. And because a judge in Washington, by the way, almost simultaneously ordered the feds to keep access to the pill, which the left is completely ignoring. They won't tell you the whole story. They just lie and give you hysteria and hyperbole. And while they obsess over these two issues, here's what the left and the mob and the media don't want to talk about. Under Joe Biden's failed leadership, the world has never, ever been a more dangerous place since World War II. And that includes, by the way, the Cold War and mutually assured destruction. Now, think about this. While Democrats are out there demagoguing, a new axis of evil is forming right before our eyes between China, Russia, Iran, and guess what? The coalition is growing on a regular basis. And it's not only posing a threat to the U.S., but also the rest of the world, the entire world. Take a look at your screen. The Chinese army released, look what they released here. This disturbing video on state-run television showing what their attack on Taiwan would look like. That's state television. The message is unmistakably clear. China is preparing and ready for war. President Xi mentioned it within the last 2 weeks. Does anybody have any confidence at all that your President Joe will hold them accountable? He's completely powerless, didn't even try to stop a Chinese spy balloon from flying over the U.S. He watched as it flew over Alaskan airspace and down the coast of Canada, the western coast of Canada, into Idaho, all over the continental United States, over our missile silos, near our military installations, and he did nothing. It went to, let's see, Montana, it went to Missouri, it went to Kansas, went to Kentucky, and then it went out to Carolinas. Then they finally took it down. Then they took down 3 other unidentified objects. We don't know what they are because they never told us. They just spent $400,000 on Sidewinder missiles, but we have no idea what it is they took down, by the way, over airspace. So even as NBC News reported, the balloon gathered intelligence from sensitive military sites, sending it back to China in real time. In other words, they lied to us about that too, and your president did absolutely nothing. Now, China faced no consequences for sending the balloon and unleashing COVID on the world or constructing blatantly unfair trade practices. And, of course, their intellectual property theft is too much to even detail, and so much more. So what is Joe Biden? He didn't do anything about the balloon, didn't do anything about Putin taking out a drone. What is he going to do about China's battle plan to take over Taiwan, our ally in the region? Clearly, China expects nothing. Why should they? Under our weak, frail, cognitively struggling president, America sadly has completely abdicated its role as the leader of the free world and, frankly, the world overall. And now China, they are racing to fill that void, along with their new pals in Russia and Vladimir Putin, and, of course, the mullahs in Iran. And I'm pretty certain that probably North Korea will be a part of this axis of evil in no time at all. He has given up our energy independence in a pathetic attempt to appease the radical climate alarmist religious cult. His obsessive push for all electric vehicles opened the door for China to cash in. They're making money off of our stupidity. By the way, so are the Saudis. So is Vladimir Putin. And during today's press briefing, Karine Jean-Pierre was asked, what the administration is going to do to prevent China from benefiting on our Green New Energy Deal push. But as usual, she had no answers. Take a look at this.
Some of the companies investing in EV battery plants here in the U.S. are Chinese companies. Is the administration doing anything to stop China from cashing in on green energy goals?
I don't have anything to share on China specifically as it relates to electric vehicles. You know where we stand on China. We want competition, not conflict. That's where we have always moved with China.
Now, meanwhile, last month, China brokered a deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran. I didn't think that would happen. Many are now speculating that they will throw their weight into the deal between Saudi Arabia and Syria. Now, remember, under President Trump's strong leadership, all these countries in the Middle East, when you think of it, the United States, Israel, we had Jordan, we had Egypt, we had the Saudis, we had the Emirates. They all stood together against Iranian hegemony. Well, all of a sudden, Joe Biden is in office. And the Saudis now clearly made a decision. And Saudi Arabia, other countries, made a deliberate choice to have China negotiate these deals, not the U.S. In other words, the way I interpret this is they have bet that China will become the world's leader, surpassing the United States, and they don't want to be on the losing side of that battle. And now they have shifted away from the U.S. and Joe Biden completely. But it's not just our adversaries that are pushing back. Take a look at this. During his recent visit to China, French President Macron warned Europe about America's weak position as tensions with China arise. And he urged Europe to reduce their dependence on what he calls the extraterritoriality of the U.S. dollar. Make no mistake, a new world order is forming. An axis of evil is forming. And it's all happening because Joe Biden is weak and missing in action. America's not only leading from behind, we're not leading at all, and the world knows it. And these hostile regimes, these hostile actors, they're taking full advantage of this. But I know many on the left, they would rather talk about Republicans are racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, transphobic. They want dirty air and water, and they want to kill grandma and grandpa and throw them over a cliff when they're in a wheelchair. Not true. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.